42nd anniversary of the women's vote. The women of Owensboro High School's ROTC program will now present the colors of our nation and Commonwealth. Please stand if you are able.
Thank you.
Face. Freezing. Colors.
Lachey Vera, representing Girls Incorporated of Owensboro, Davis County, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lachey Vera, and I'm here on behalf of Girls Inc., and it's an honor to be here to recognize women's rights. Now, will you please say with me with the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Isn't that great? Thank you to Girls Incorporated for all you do in helping develop strong, smart, bold citizens of the future. Sister Sharon?
Can you pray with me, please? Loving, creating God, we gather today in gratitude for the expression in our lives of the gifts, freedoms, and responsibilities with which we have been blessed. We give thanks for the gift of shared humanity, that although we are but one of the myriad species inhabiting this one world, our home, we have both the curiosity and creativity, the insight and empathy, the foresight and hindsight, the compassion and competitiveness, the ability to dream and to imagine, to either enrich or devastate our home. You, loving God, have given us the freedom to make wise choices. Grant us today the wisdom to understand the needs of our community and of our shared planet. Give us eyes that are free from the blindness of presumptions. Grant us ears that will hear and recognize the truth. And clear our minds and hearts that we may be open and receptive to ideas and understandings that are not our own. Grant us, creating God, the courage to accept the mantle of responsibility for the results of each of our decisions and choices, and the audacity to seek and value guidance from persons of wisdom, regardless of background, prominence, or persuasion. Again, we offer our gratitude for the opportunities this evening to celebrate, to grow, and to learn. May we share your blessings with all. We offer our prayer and say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Sister Sharon. We'll We'll now hear from our suffrage singers.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for patriots' dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine.
Thank you. We will be hearing more from these inspiring voices later in the program. Thank you, ladies, for that beautiful tribute to our country. My name is Judy Adams, and I'm currently serving as co-president of the Owensboro branch of the American Association of University Women, or AAUW as it's generally known. AAUW is pleased to partner with the Davis County Bar Association in putting together today's program. First, let me recognize Aloma Dew, AAUW historian, and Jeannie Owen Miller, retired administrative law judge and current treasurer of the Davis County Bar Association. Jeannie was unable to be with us today. She's welcoming a new grandbaby. But I know she's here in spirit. Thank you both for the many weeks of work putting together today's program. Next, would all those currently holding elective office please stand so that you can be recognized for your willingness to serve our community? Now, would the gentleman please be seated? An extra moment of recognition on this special day for those women serving in elective office. So, just what is it that we're celebrating today? The 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution was declared official by the U.S. Secretary of State on August 26, 1920. It is inscribed on the memorial here to my left. It reads in its entirety, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation." A simple yet powerful statement. As we celebrate, let us be aware that these hard-won rights should not be taken lightly. Being an informed voter is our responsibility as citizens of this Commonwealth. The county clerk's office has a table here today, as do both the Republican and Democratic women. Stop by, talk with them, and make a plan to vote. Our Commonwealth and our country are depending on you. Now, Davis County Judge Executive Al Mattingly will share a few words. You guys are all in on the joke.
Remember, Commissioner, I want to welcome everyone to what I consider one of the best green spaces in all of downtown Owensboro. We strive. Jerry, where are you? Jerry Ams? Right here. Over here. Jerry works his rear end off, trying to maintain this as a place for folks to gather. Many of our citizens have helped us improve. Behind you, you have the People's Places where we invite people to come and speak, particularly during political races. I wish it weren't so. I wish it was more often than that where we could get people to come and discuss various topics. I'm the oldest of 12 kids. I have 7 sisters. One of them has just recently passed away. Mr. Castlin, who is going to read a proclamation for us in a minute, he is the next to the youngest of 13 with 7 sisters. Charlie and I think we can say that we know what it's like to be in the minority. The same place that women have been for years. And I always found it interesting that our ladies would join together with other minorities and fight for rights. And finally, one day, my good friend and favorite little Democrat, Aloma Dew, enlightened me. I mean, women for years and continue to be discriminated against. Continue to be discriminated against. Whether it be in the job place, whether it be equal pay for equal work. So someday, I would hope that everyone would have that experience of being a minority in a family like Charlie and I have. And perhaps they would understand the struggle that women have gone through, not just this last 102 years, but throughout the history of mankind. Now, yesterday or this morning, when you looked at the messenger, you saw a sad face. My face was the ugliest picture that the Messenger Enquirer could take. And if they're here today, I hope you take a more flattering picture. Mayor Watson said it was because I had been asked to shut up and not twice and not say anything more. But it is my pleasure to welcome you here. Congratulations on the 102nd anniversary of women's suffrage. And now I would like to invite Commissioner Charlie Castlin from the Central District to read a proclamation.
And I know my responsibility is to read this, so I won't give a lengthy commentary like he did. Davis County, Kentucky, proclamation from the Office of the County Judge Executive. Whereas in 1848, women of the United States began organizing peaceful protests for their right to fully and equally participate in workplaces, libraries, organizations, and public facilities, as well as the right to vote and participate in government. And whereas in 1971, Congress designated August 26 as Women's Equality Day to serve as a symbol of the ongoing fight for equal rights. Whereas on January 16, 1895, a group of 10 Owensboro women formed the Political Equality Club of Owensboro to secure to women the unrestricted exercise of all the rights of citizenship and equal constitutional rights with men and equal protection of the law. And whereas born in Davis County in 1921, Clara Sanford Oldham dedicated her life to enhancing the lives of women through numerous achievements, including founding and co-founding many local women-focused services and organizations, and her dedicated focus towards the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment, all of which exemplifies her commitment to ensuring equal rights. And whereas women play a critical role in families, the workplace, and in society as a whole, contributing to the economy and advancing our nation, and through the efforts of many equal rights advocates and champions, we get today to celebrate locally and nationally Women's Equality Day, and pay tribute to all women who have and continue to strive for equality. Now therefore, Al Mattingly, Davis County Judge Executive, does hereby proclaim August 26, 2022 as Women's Equality Day. This 24th day of August, 2022.
Mayor Watson.
Well, I'd like to welcome you as well. And this is, I don't know how many times we've done this now, in a few years. I envisioned someday that this entire green space would be filled with women and young girls and ladies and anybody that could really enhance what we're trying to do today. So we're in, I guess we're getting dueling proclamations, Al. I guess that's what this is. So, but I will want to make one remark. My mom passed at 94, and by far she was the most non-judgmental human being that I ever met in my life. And if I have any decent characteristics at all, they come from her. And I just always think of Gabby when I get around a situation like this, because she was a very special lady. So the proclamation, City of Owensboro, whereas the women of the United States have been treated as second-class citizens and have not been entitled to the full rights, privileges, public or private, legal or institutional, which are available to male citizens of the United States. Whereas the women of the United States have united to assure that these rights and privileges are available to all citizens equally, regardless of sex. Whereas the women of the United States have designated August 26th, the anniversary date of the certification of the 19th Amendment, as a symbol of the continued fight for equal rights. And whereas the women of the United States are to be commended and supported in their organizations and activities. Now therefore, I, Thomas Hart Watson, Mayor of the City of Owensboro, do hereby proclaim August the 26th, 2022 as Women's Equality Day in Owensboro, and do hereby recognize the commemoration of that day in 1920 on which the women of America won their right to vote as an opportunity to continue to work for equal rights of all citizens. God bless and thank you.
Now, Olomide has the honor of introducing our guest speaker.
I am honored to be able to introduce our speaker today, Cassie Chamber Armstrong. I want to emphasize Armstrong, because she is a strong woman. I've just finished her book, Hill Women, Finding Family and a Way Forward in the Appalachian Mountains. It's moving and inspiring, and it gives a different and honest view of Appalachia and its strong and proud people, especially the women. It's a story of women who nurtured her and her own journey. In some ways, it's like Western Kentucky, or Kentucky in general, in that people assume that we're all not real bright, that we're all racist and weak. Well, that's not so, and you will see when you hear from this young woman. In one of the reviews of her book, it was written, quote, "It teaches us about service and gratitude, family, and the tenuousness of belonging, and the power of education, loyalty, and home," end quote. The importance of family and place and our need to make our own choices is the overriding theme to me. Ms. Chamber Armstrong was born to students at Berea College. They were from Owsley County. And she used that foundation and her strong family ties and pride of place, which William Wendell Berry talks about all the time, that pride of place, to study at the United World College, Wellesley University, to obtain a BA degree from Yale, to study at the London School of Economics, and graduate from Harvard Law School. Not bad for a Kentucky woman, I would think. She worked for 2 years as a Skadden Fellow, representing victims of domestic violence in family law matters. She now serves on the Louisville Metro Council and is Assistant Professor of Law at Brandeis College of Law at the University of Louisville. And her areas of expertise include constitutional law, family law, legislative process, tort law, and women and gender. She is the perfect person to speak to us today about women and the 19th Amendment and the threats to our independence and freedom which threaten us now. Cassie?
Well, thank you for that very kind introduction. I wanted to start off by saying hello. Thank you all for having me. It is a joy and an honor to be here with you all today. I am Cassie Chambers Armstrong. I think the introduction covered a lot of my bio. I'm originally from Eastern Kentucky, born to 2 college students that brought me home from the hospital to a rented trailer they couldn't afford to run the air conditioning in because it would have made the electric bill too high that month. And my journey from that holler in Owsley County to places like Harvard Law School was largely driven by the women in my family. My mom, who was the 6th of 7 children, the first to graduate high school, the first to get an education at Berea College. My granny, who despite having a 3rd grade education herself, pushed for my mom to be able to have those opportunities. My Aunt Ruth, who had to drop out of school in high school because she got too sick to be able to continue, but gave my mom all of the money that she had saved up. It was in an old darned up sock. Gave her all of the money so that my mom could go to college and fulfill her dreams and have those opportunities. And so my life story is really a story about women providing opportunities for other women. And I know that as I stand here with you all today, that the opportunities I've had to participate in government, to hold elected office, in large part are due to those women who came before me, who organized so that I could have the right to vote, including for myself, and all of the hard work that they did. So I want to start off by saying that it's just an honor to be here with you today. And Judy covered a little bit of what I was going to say. I was going to start off by telling you all what the 19th Amendment actually says. And just to remind you all, it says, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex." And I think it's important that we take a moment and we reflect on the importance of that, because that's what Women's Equality Day is really all about. It's about celebrating that moment when women became able to fully participate in our democracy and by extension fully participate in our society. It is one short sentence that fundamentally changed the whole trajectory of our country. And since then we have made strides in women's equality. Some have come in the form of additional laws. I'm a big believer that government and lawmaking can be a force for good. And many of these were championed by women who could now garner the votes to support them and continue to use the democratic process for progress. I'm going to recognize just a couple here, some recent, some old, some federal, some state, but these are things that largely women have fought for over the years. We have the Equal Pay Act of 1963 that required many, although not all, employers pay women the same salary for doing the same work as their male counterparts. And as a result, we saw women's salaries rise from 62.3% of their male counterparts in 1963 to 81.1% today. Now take a minute, 81.1% is not 100%, so take that and sit with that for a moment. Other legal changes have come from the states, such as the Dignity Bill passed right here in the state of Kentucky last year by our own Senator Julie Rocky Adams. And that bill ensured that women who are incarcerated and pregnant could not be put in solitary confinement, had access to postpartum care, and could not be shackled while they were giving birth. So the law and the women who pass and make and advocate for laws have been powerful tools to protect women and ensure more rights for them. That said, we still have a long way to go. And I want to spend a minute talking a little bit about the status of Kentucky women, equality for Kentucky women, and then turn to talk about the constitutional amendment that's going to be on the ballot this fall. So the beautiful thing about the 19th Amendment is that it allowed women the ability to vote and also to run for elected office, to vote for themselves, to fully participate and hold elected office. And yet we in Kentucky have yet to realize the potential of having a truly representative democracy. Only 27% of our Kentucky House of Representatives and just 11% of our Kentucky Senate are currently women. We all suffer for this, not just because I believe democracy is at its strongest when it is truly reflective of the communities that it serves, but also because research shows that women are more effective legislators. So one study from the London School of Economics found that women were more likely to work across the aisle, to put in the work to advance their policy agendas, and to ultimately be successful at achieving their policy goals. And this is one of my favorite lines in any academic study. In contrast, the study found male legislators, and I'm quoting here, tend towards a more obstructionist role. So anyone who has been a woman working in democracy, you can reflect on whether that represents the experience that you've had. I will say I have some wonderful male colleagues that I love to work with. Women in Kentucky still lag behind in many other ways. The Institute for Women's Policy Research ranks Kentucky as the third worst in the nation for women's employment and earnings. It also states that 13% of Kentucky women and 44.5% of single mothers in Kentucky live in poverty. Both of those numbers are higher than the national average. We are also above the national average for maternal mortality. The United States is currently 129th in the world, think about that, 129th in the world for maternal mortality, with 19 women dying from a pregnancy-related complication for every 100,000 live births. So for every 100,000 babies that are born, 19 women die. The United Health Foundation ranks Kentucky as the least healthy state for maternal mortality, with 40 women dying per 100,000 births, a number that is twice the national average. By that same organization, we rank 25th out of the 50 states in voter participation for women. I hope that you all here today will help change that in your communities. 45th in the number of women who are able to graduate college, 50th in child victimization, and 34th in the number of women healthcare providers. So that feels heavy, right? It feels like a lot. And I want to say that we are not powerless in the face of these challenges. We can use our voices, we can use our votes to make things better for women throughout the state and throughout the country. And with elections on the horizon, I encourage each of you to ask candidates what they plan to do about these challenges that women face, and what their plan is to create opportunities for women and girls. On the topic of elections, I've been asked to put on my constitutional law scholar hat to speak about another item that will be on your ballot this fall, to explain the constitutional amendment process, how it works, and what the implications are of Amendment 2 that will be on your ballot. And I hope to do this without any politics and sort of just explaining the legal consequences of what passing that amendment would mean. A few months ago, the United States Supreme Court overruled Roe versus Wade and left it to state legislatures to enact legislation related to abortion and really to reproductive health care in general. Prior to this, Roe versus Wade it sort of set the buffer, the boundaries by which states were not allowed to legislate. The court said there are some areas that you are not allowed state legislatures to pass laws. But with those gone, it's largely left to legislatures across the country and states to enact whatever laws they would want to in this area. So Kentucky has several statutes that went into effect whenever the Supreme Court overturned Roe, including what is colloquially known as the trigger law, which is currently in effect in the state of Kentucky. So the trigger law bans all abortion in the state of Kentucky unless there is an imminent threat to a woman's life or to what the statute calls a life-sustaining organ. There are no exceptions for rape, for incest, or for age of the mother. So this fall, there will be a constitutional amendment on your ballot that reads, "To protect human life, nothing in this Constitution shall be construed to secure or protect a right to abortion or require the funding of abortion." Right now, there are legal challenges to some of these Kentucky laws based on our Kentucky Constitution. In the Kentucky Constitution, how many of you all have read the Kentucky Constitution? A lot of people haven't, and they assume that it looks a lot like the federal Constitution. It's actually a very different document, and it actually gives you more rights as a Kentuckian in terms of the way that it defines the Bill of Rights. So it says, all men and women are free and equal and have unalienable rights, including enjoying and defending their lives and liberties, seeking and pursuing their safety and happiness, and a bunch of other things. It's broader language than what's in the United States Constitution. And courts have interpreted it that way, to be more protective of individual rights and individual choices, and quite frankly, to keep government out of people's business more. Kentucky, when it wrote its constitution, was a frontier state. They didn't like government wading into people's personal choices, and so it's a constitution that largely protects individual rights. And so there's a challenge currently being heard saying these Kentucky laws violate the Kentucky Constitution, in part because our Kentucky Constitution provides some buffer, it provides some areas that you're not allowed to legislate. And so if the amendment passes, if Amendment 2 passes, that means that those legal challenges will pretty much no longer be viable. It means that we won't have the buffer of Roe versus Wade and protections from the Supreme Court. It means that we won't have any buffers or protection under the Kentucky Constitution. And that means that state lawmakers would have increased authority to pass laws to restrict abortion access, reproductive health care access, and there would be no way to challenge these laws in court. We would basically be saying, whatever the legislative branch wants to do is fine. This is not something that courts are going to step in to protect. There are a lot of unanswered legal questions about what the limits of that discretion might be. You might have heard people talking about whether you could make it a crime for a woman to leave the state of Kentucky to get an abortion in another state, whether it could restrict access to in vitro fertilization. I will say, as someone who studies the Constitution, these are very unclear questions that we won't know the answer for until lawsuits are brought down the road. So I know that for a lot of people, that is a sort of heavy idea to sit with. And so I want to end my remarks, and then I think I might have a minute or two for questions if anyone has a particular question that they'd like to ask. I do want to end on a moment of hope and a moment of community, and say that there are good things happening around women's equality. In 2018, there were 8 countries that elected or swore in a woman head of state or government. We had Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who took office as the head of the World Trade Organization, who is the first woman and the first African to ever hold this position. Louisville, Kentucky passed a law requiring that men and women be given 12 weeks of paid parental leave upon the welcoming of a child, and that domestic violence survivors have paid time off from work. Women have surpassed men in the receipt of higher education degrees, and good things are happening. Maybe not enough, maybe not fast enough, but they are in fact happening. And so today, my ask for you all is to renew your commitment to women's equality and to ensuring that all women have access to the ballot box. We have some important decisions to make this fall, and regardless of how you vote, it's important that you be educated and be a tool for educating others in your communities about the importance of elections. Democracy is beautiful and voting is powerful, and I believe that it's our responsibility to use the tools we have to fight to make things better for other women. So thank you for having me today, and I think I have time for one question if anyone has one. Yes?
Well, thanks very much for your clarification on the amendment. Am I correct? If you want to continue the current Constitution that has equality between men and women, you should vote no to the amendment?
Yes, so a vote, I know the language of the amendment can be confusing. A vote no says that you do not want to add the constitutional amendment that would restrict abortion access. So a vote no means that you do not want to amend the Kentucky Constitution. You like sort of the language in the Constitution as it is. A vote yes means that you would like the constitutional amendment to pass. Does that answer your question? Yes. Thank you.
I would like to ask Mary Miller, co-president of AAW with me, and Tish Korea Osborne to come up for a moment. We have a small addition to the program.
Good afternoon. One of our strongest AAUW members, whom we still miss very much, was Margaret Britton. Last year, we finally got ourselves to thinking about what we wanted to do to honor Margaret. And what we decided was, in cooperation with Girls Inc., we established the Margaret Britton AAUW Fund. The purpose of that fund is specifically to help young women who are alums of the Girls Inc. program, who are in college and making appropriate progress, to have a resource wherein if they find themselves in a position where they might have to leave college for some financial reason, as simple as a breakdown of a car or extremely expensive books, they would have a resource to go to Girls Inc. and apply for this particular fund, for a grant from this fund. No strings attached, just whatever they needed. When we offered an honorarium to our speaker, she said, "Thank you very much, but I'd like this to go to a women's program in Owensboro." And after checking with her and telling her about the fund, she was very excited. So I'm going to present the honorarium to our speaker, who will then give it to Tish and Girls Inc., all you all back there in the red t-shirts. I'm always glad to see you.
I'm not on the agenda to speak, but if you know me, I've got to say something. I feel like we're on hallowed ground with these incredible women and men that are in support of girls and women's rights. And I know that this work has been going on every single day in many of your lives, and that it will not stop. And that means that you value every single girl in this community that's growing up, and that will continue to provide the needed resources for our economy, for our community to grow and thrive. And to our speaker, yeah, she's going to talk too long, I'm leaving. You started out by saying giving back to others, and you're truly doing that, and we cannot thank you enough. And we would like to have you, like, for 24 hours, maybe a sleepover at Girls Inc. Yes, and you just come educate us, and you're so inspiring, as are all of you. Thank you for this opportunity for the girls and for what is happening here. Thank you.
I'm not sure I'll get through this without crying today. Thank you all, and Cassie, thank you so much for an inspirational speech, for showing us what strong women there are in Kentucky, sharing your family and your experiences with us. And I want to thank all of you all who have come today, and I hope that when you leave here, which isn't yet, that you're going to be inspired to do something, to do more, to get out there. We don't want just women, we want men working with us too. From the very first, with the Women's Suffrage Association here in Owensboro, there were men who were members as well as women. And I think those of you who are here today, I think can safely say that you're feminist, because you care about women and you care about all of humanity. Our foremothers were women who broke barriers. Here in Owensboro, women like Mildred Summers Lucas, Fannie Hayes, Catherine Rudy, Louise Gasser Kirtley, Lyman, Addie Talbot, Jessie Howard, Emma Edwards, Elizabeth Gasser, Mary Heldine, and many others would expect us to keep on keeping on until we have true equality and rights to make all of our own decisions. AAUW, we have prepared a tour at Elmwood Cemetery of the women whose names I just read. These were women who broke barriers, and you can pick one of these brochures up, I think back at our table, but there's a large poster that shows you the map and the people who are on there. And you all are more literate than I am about phones, but we have, you are QR, see how literate I am, QR codes on here. You can take this brochure and listen to the recorded messages that some of us did talking more about these women and what they did. AAUW has long been a group of women who broke barriers, and we want you to join with us. Our speaker was a woman who is a woman who has broken barriers, and now it's up to us to continue to follow these strong women. We cannot give up. We must all be women who break barriers, and one way you can do that is by voting in November.
I've heard a song of triumph, it has rolled from shore to shore, a song of joy and gladness which we'll sing forevermore. Women's suffrage sure is coming to the land which we adore. Come help us win the vote. Soon the women will be voting. Soon the women will be voting. Soon the women will be voting. Come help us win the vote. Come sisters of the sunny south, we need your help today. Come comrades of the eastern states, we know you're on the way. Our western sisters join us and they sing this happy lay. You soon will win the vote. Soon the women will be voting. Soon the women will be voting. Soon the women will be voting. You soon will win the vote. It happened once in England's fair that women's mind got started. Unthinking suffrage right to share from her unjustly parted. Votes for women, keep it up, never mind what party. Votes for women, sure to win, sing it strong and hearty. That laws and taxes she should heed, in which she had no say, sir. Her prayer thought she'd sing the British cried, will never obey, sir. Votes for women, keep it up, never mind what party. Votes for women, sure to win, sing it strong and hearty. We'll show the world through word and deed, by us the vote is wanted. Let legislators now take heed, our courage is undaunted. Votes for women, keep it up, never mind what party. Votes for women, sure to win, sing it strong and hearty.
Thank you, ladies. Can't you just imagine Fannie Hayes and Kitty Rudy being inspired by those songs? Now, would you ladies please introduce yourselves? There's been a change since our programs were printed, and we'd like everyone to know who belongs to these beautiful voices. Just one at a time, just come up and...
Okay. Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'm a senior at Kentucky Wesleyan College.
I'm Lorraine Renner North, a fairly native of Owensboro.
I'm Melina Sky Carter, and I'm from Kentucky Wesleyan.
I'm Amber Nicole Carter, and I'm also from Kentucky Wesleyan.
Susan Dant, Owensboro transplant from Louisville.
Shelby Ratliff, choir director at Apollo.
Thank you so much, ladies. Before we leave today, let's make a pledge to spread the word about the importance of becoming an informed voter. Examine the issues and the candidates' platforms. Ask the hard questions. Talk to others who might not always agree with you on every issue. Have civil and courteous conversations. And be sure that you and your friends, neighbors, and co-workers are not only registered to vote, there's Leslie over there, but have a plan for casting your ballot. And never forget that 103 years ago, women were still denied this precious right. Thank you all so much for being here.